Hello, hockey and basketball fans. My name is David. Thought I would start this video at now 10:38 on the evening of Monday, 20th of March, 2023, North American Eastern Time. Thought I would discuss about various the status of the various of the Raptors and Canada's NHL teams. So what I'll do is the Raptors seem to be still in the very much in the mix for play-in spot. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Masai Ujiri and Bob Webster, respectively the president and GM, made a bet on going for a postseason run. We'll see what happens, but with the way the Raptors have been playing, who knows? Then I would go to the Leafs. Let me say a bit more about it in another video. Seem to be doing okay, but having trouble getting point streaks going of more than 3 games at a time. We'll have to see what happens. I'm just going to go with the NHL standing here. Just give me a moment here. Yeah, that's those standings as of tonight. It was the Western Conference, an all-Western matchup between the Flames and Kings. Yeah, Flames have to win this one because if they don't, they could find out. I'll say a bit more about that later. So for tonight's game, we have Jakob Markstrom, 19 wins, 18 regulation losses, and 10 extra time losses. 89.1 save percentage, 2.89 goals against average. So it has been great. The other end, this is the road game against the Kings. Or is it? Or yeah. Because usually the dark uniforms are worn by the home team. The light colored ones are worn by the away team. So I don't know what that is, but I'll figure out the LA goalie pretty soon. Try to start watching the broadcast, or at least resume it. So yes, so the Canucks seem to be on a roll, winning a bunch of games. Whether they can sustain that momentum, we'll see what happens. Sustain that momentum into the 2023 preseason and into the 2023-24 regular season. Good luck with that, because we know what happened last time with the Canucks. Under Bruce Boudreau, huge bump, and then 7 games in a row lost to start the regular season. Preseason didn't go that great, and well, Canucks are out of a playoff spot, over a dozen points out, so who knows what could happen. Looks like it's Phoenix Copley there. If I'm not mistaken there. I'll have to take a look at the game sheet. But whatever. So yeah, Calgary Flames hang on, desperately hang on for dear life. I mean, they're still hanging around. The Jets did, after all, split their games on the weekend, beating the Preds in overtime on Saturday Eastern Time, but on Sunday Eastern Time ended up, well, losing bigly, 3-0. That's unbelievably normal. Second shutout loss in as many weeks. My hometown Leafs haven't been shut out in any game since last season. I believe in November 2021 against the Pens, when the Leafs were last shut out in any game, whether preseason, regular season, or postseason. Last postseason game Leafs were shut out in, I believe, was Game 5 of the Blue Jackets Leafs 2020 playoff series. So yeah, I'll say more about the Leafs a little bit later. So, regarding the Flames, the Oilers are up by 2. Not up by 2, but 2-1 in the second period, with a bit over 18 minutes to go against the Sharks. There's a fight going on in the Flames game. Yeah, it's a very intense game. 1-1 or shots in favor very early on in the first period. Let's see what happens, but it's certainly going to be, I predict it'll be a rather physical game. Whether the Flames will get through it, we'll see. The Oilers are in a playoff spot. Probably be the question of whether it'll be 4th or 3rd in the Pacific. 4th being the first wildcard spot, given where things are going. Kraken have more games they have to play before the postseason, before the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs begin, than the Oilers do, so it'll be a question of that. and then if the Oilers can get up to second, but again, let's see, nothing's really set in stone for the Oilers. And yeah, Flames are fighting for their playoff lives. Sens are fighting for their playoff lives, but got a big win earlier Monday Eastern Time against the Penguins at PPG Paints Arena in the southwest of Pennsylvania. Well, Dylan Ferguson, who had been all around the AHL, ECHL, and he even had a PTO with the Toronto Marlies, because at one point the Leafs had 50 contracts, 50 players under contract, the maximum allowed under NHL rules. It would have been the Leafs had needed would have needed to call Ferguson up on a PTO, professional tryout. Wow, Dubas has been has not been good. Has done a rat. Has done like a real hatchet job, not really good one, of thickening the goaltending depth or the quality thereof. Matt Murray, kind of a waste of roster spot here, and the Sens, though, got by with Ferguson, the Pens, but it was very close, 2-1 regulation. The Habs have really hit the skids, but again, they weren't expected to make the postseason this season. Those Jets, though, were, I don't know how many pundits predicted the Jets were going to make the postseason. I predicted the Jets weren't. Change of coach from, was it Dave Lowry to Rick Bowness. And yes, Bowness once coached the Sens. Back in the 90s, Sens were a younger team, not very good one. It was an expansion team, though. And, well, they're thinking, okay, Bowness stripped captain Blake Wheeler, winger of the Jets captaincy. Well, what good was it going to do? It was supposed to make a statement, and it did. The Jets did do well in the preseason, generally well in the preseason. In the regular season, it was the first 2/3 or so, and now they've just hit the skids and gone barely in the playoff spot. I showed from Erdon Evening. I had the broadcast on mute, just showing the standings as of then in the Western Conference. So Western Canadian teams looking like, well, really only, two, if we're lucky. But these Jets are struggling. The Preds are on the move up. David Poile, the only GM the Preds have ever had, announced earlier this winter that he would, in June, retire from his current role. Just wait for the Preds to get a new GM and a new lease on life. Yes, the Preds may not end up seeing playoff action, but again, even with trades, sellers at the trade deadline, they're they're going to sell, they're going to tank, they're not going to do too well. Well, they're hanging around even without Matthias Ekholm as a defenseman or Nino Niederreiter on the wing. Now trade to the Jets, but well, these Preds hung around, hungry for points, ended up losing in overtime to the Jets last weekend. And yes, it was rather important. The Preds are pretty much playing with house money, figuratively speaking, because, well, given how the season's gone, so we'll have to see what happens. These Jets just played flat against the Blues. Basically, seeing the Blues. Yeah. Last 9 games, Kings have won 7 games and lost 2 in extra time. Pretty good. These Kings, may not end up being at the top of the Western Conference, but I think that they shouldn't be counted out, whatever position they finish in. So yeah, these Jets seem to have pretty much no one. They have all this dead, almost up against the cap. They got in the slumping category in terms of forwards, Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers. Well, I can name a whole bunch of them, but I don't want to go through them. But it's just been very turbulent for the Jets lately, and there's no telling where they're going to go. They could be going head on down and absolutely lifeless I'm not sure what's up. I just don't. I watched those videos put on by the Peg City Hockey YouTube man, I believe based in Burnaby, in the south, in the lower mainland of British Columbia. Who would have thought? A Jets fan from there. But again, for me, it's Jets fans can be found everywhere. I mean, I'm a I'm a follower of various Canadian teams. I cheer for the Leafs, but come playoff time, my fandom turns to as many non-Habs Canadian teams as possible. After all, the Habs have won so many Stanley Cups that I just want to see a non-Habs Canadian team win a Stanley Cup for once. We'll have to see what happens. The Oilers look like they're better positioned than any of the remaining non-Habs Canadian teams to do it. And in terms of, before I go, I thought I would mention a little bit of tidbit about the last weekend's game against Sens. That was shootout. Leafs just, defense just, the Leafs threw defense right under the bus. They need to play a lot better against the Isles. But, on Tuesday Eastern time. But again, there's also the question of what to use, whether the Leafs should use Matt Murray or Ilya Samsonov. Well, I do congratulate Samsonov on the birth of his first child. I'm not sure if it's his girlfriend or his wife, whatever, did give birth to their first child. I mean, parental leave is important. I believe in that. Not that I necessarily will be a parent. I don't really care. I mean, there are pros and cons to being parents. I mean, whatever it is, and what can you do? So again, whether to use Matt Murray, despite what appeared to be a rather impressive performance against the Sens. Well, there were two ugly goals that Matt Murray allowed that I could count. In each of his last 4 starts, he's allowed at least 2 ugly goals. Let's go back to 2 weekends ago. Alright, so it's going to go to this here. Wow. It's not been pretty good. Sportsnet graphic. Wow. Games died by... Wow. None. No wonder the Flames have had a season that has flamed out. Now I'm going to go back to the Leafs and, whether Sheldon Keefe should use Matt Murray unless the only alternative is an emergency backup. I would say no. Murray gave up 2 ugly goals. Once again, 4 games. How many of them were wins? Well, surprisingly, 2. But they were despite Murray, not because of him. And a very interesting episode of the Gluttons for Punishment podcast, and about that 2-1 shootout loss by the Leafs to the Avs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to... I'm going to go to the video. Are Leafs worse? Making a big trade. Well, it's not clear how much better they are. I mean, they're already effectively going to be, likely going to be second or third, finish second or third in the Atlantic. The other question being, in which position. And home ice advantage has been kind of overrated during the Dubas era. Well, because although the Leafs, no doubt, proportionately won fewer games at Amalie Arena in the last postseason than at Scotiabank Arena, the Leafs lost the last game of that series at Scotiabank Arena. Home ice advantage, did it work? Nope. It kept them in, but on the other hand, they lost Game 7. They haven't won a playoff series in so long at any point during the cap era. So for me, it's very simple. These Leafs, I think that Sheldon Keefe, 3 goals, 2 power play goals, and 16 shots in the last 5 games. So it's Mikael Backlund, 3 goals in 5 games were impressive. The problem is Leafs offense has been so helter-skelter that there have been those games such as that 2-1 shootout loss to the Avs, during which a goalie other than Matt Murray played, and the Leafs got a point because of good goaltending. Murray, yeah, the Leafs didn't help their own cause by forcing Murray to save a whole bunch of shots, but Murray was not very good. Save percentage of 92 point whatever is one of the highest I had seen it for a while. But don't be fooled, Leaf fans. Matt Murray was still a sieve. Yeah, okay, giving up 4 more goals a game is one thing. I mean, that's bad enough. And it would make me question, okay, how good's the goaltending? Like, how many of those goals were ugly? Last weekend, Jakob Markstrom gave up, was it 3 ugly goals that I could count. Oh wait, now like there's yeah, who's sure there? I may go back a little bit later and determine how many ugly goals that was it Granstrom? Let's see what's an ugly goal by Jakob Markstrom. Oh, Markstrom was out, a little bit out of position there. He kind of slipped and yeah, I'd have to do that again. I mean, actually take a video of that, but again, the main thing is Matt Murray was a waste of a roster space. The Leafs cap hit for Murray well over $4 million for each of the next 2 seasons. Will Leafs find another team to take on even a portion of Murray's contract? Well, we'll see. Let's see what happens. It may be a buyout, maybe the only option available. Who knows? But again, Murray is a sieve, as was Peter Mrazek. Murray has gotten hurt, has had 2 long injury stints for the Leafs. So did Mrazek, a minimum at least. So we'll have to see what happens. But I do believe that given the body of evidence, unless an emergency backup goalie to Matt Murray is the only goalie available to back Murray up, I believe Sheldon Keefe will be as dumb as a doorknob to start Murray. After all, Murray is still a sieve. He hasn't changed since having come back from injury. He can't be, Murray can't be trusted to not be a sieve. So Sheldon Keefe, I got some advice for you. Against the Islanders, use Joseph Woll if Samsonov has yet to return from his leave of absence. After all, what's the harm? I can't think of anything worse than Murray. I mean, Murray's given up 4 goals in each of the last 4 games, 4 more, and 2 ugly goals in each of those games. So, definitely on shots that Murray should have stopped. In my view, and also for the postseason, unless Samsonov craps the bed too often, just use Murray as a backup. I don't care what Dubas tells you. It's about which goalie can win games in the postseason. I understand that Murray has 2 Stanley Cups, but that was quite a while ago. And you've seen the body of evidence, Sheldon. You know what to do. Stop using Murray as a starter. Whether it's a knee bug or the back-to-back. Although even then, if you can use a goalie other than Murray in each, for any of the remaining for all remaining games, that would be good. But depends on what Dubas plans to do in terms of setting goalies down the Marlies and calling them up again. Whatever. Anyway, definitely looking forward to seeing some hockey. There's a game tied 2-2 between the Oilers and Sharks. Kings are up 1-0 on the Flames, so we'll get back to that game as soon as possible. And I'm going to say goodnight, and go Leafs go.